The Texans' minicamp is over, but it left behind signs that most people missed. And if you're a fan and let this slide, you'll miss valuable insight into how the roster is starting to take shape even before the pads go on. A rookie got extra reps with the head coach. A veteran's position is under quiet threat, and there was a strategic coaching staff move that wasn't in the script. One wide receiver made the most impactful catch of the day, while a safety was tested as a direct backup in a critical defensive role. And why did the offensive coordinator focus so heavily on the offensive line while the QBs were barely mentioned? Decisions are being shaped off camera that hint at who might earn a spot before the preseason even starts. Pay close attention to this video because understanding what really happened at this minicamp could change the way you see the next phase. The Houston Texans rookie minicamp in May 2025 revealed a cohesive, physically imposing, and technically intriguing group built on criteria of on-field experience and functional readiness. From the start, the synergy between some athletes stood out, such as Jaden Higgins and Jaylen Reed. Longtime teammates from Iowa State, the two wide receivers quickly reignited their on-field chemistry, alternating complementary routes. Higgins, standing at 6 feet 4 inches and over 200 pounds, presented himself as the prototype of an outside wideout, capable of winning at the catch point, while Noel, operating more from the inside, showed quickness in short routes and reliability after the catch, traits typical of a slot receiver. Alongside them, Daniel Jackson, undrafted, also took part in offensive drills and special teams, despite committing a false start during one of the exercises. Even so, the receiver group stood out for its physical density. The shift in the strength and conditioning program at Iowa State is clearly evident. These players showed up with NFL-level physiques, which raised the level of internal competition in the unit. Higgins, in fact, made the most impactful catch of the day, a one-handed grab on the sideline showing body control and a catch radius worth noting. In the same vein, running back Woody Marks, a fourth-round pick, had a solo role in the backfield during minicamp, which allowed for full focus on fundamentals. Working directly with Danny Barrett, Marks showed excellent fluidity in transitions and natural ability as a pass catcher, a trait that puts him in direct competition with Dare Ogunbowale for third down snaps. His wingspan, combined with a low center of gravity and solid frame, suggests potential to contribute in his rookie year, including in pass protection situations where he was already tested in specific drills during special teams work. The interior of the offensive line received special attention, and among the players observed, Ariante Ursery stood out both visually and technically. Selected in the second round, Ursery impressed with a physical frame that exceeds 330 pounds. Although officially listed at that weight, his presence on the field was described as greater, both in height and body density. More than just size, Ursery showed unusual flexibility for a man of his stature, performing stretches and drills with good hip mobility and functional balance, essential attributes for a tackle in zone-blocking schemes. His initial role will be his depth, especially with the arrival of Cam Robinson and the presence of Titus Howard, Jarrett Patterson, Juice Scruggs, and Blake Fisher, but it's clear the Texans see Ursery as a potential future Lot 1, particularly after the departure of Laramie Tunsil. In terms of stature, Ladarius Henderson and Eli Cox, the latter an undrafted center, also stood out. Cox, in fact, appears to be physically more developed than Juice Scruggs was when he first joined the franchise, which adds an interesting layer to the interior rotation. On the defensive side, safety Jaylen Reed showed behavior similar to Jalen Peter. Lined up in specific route recognition drills between tight ends and fullbacks, Reed was positioned as a hybrid safety linebacker, playing aggressively and with awareness in the slot, even assuming simultaneous reading stances and working in short zones. The coaching staff dedicated 3 coaches to this individual development, a clear indication that the plan is to mold him for complex roles within the defense. His body mass, well over 200 pounds, and background at Penn State qualify him for a physical and disruptive role, potentially even as an alternative to Jimmy Ward, considering the veteran's injury history. Versatility also showed up in Jalen Smith, a cornerback who has already played nickel roles at USC. He can offer direct support as an inside corner in sub-packages, strengthening the depth of the secondary, especially if Reed takes snaps as a box safety in specific packages. On the defensive front, Keontae Hamilton DT drew attention with his old-school build, comparable to players like Casey Toohill, and his ability to manipulate the line of scrimmage with refined wrestling techniques. In positional drills, he showed good use of hands and base control, anticipating what should be a physical matchup in offensive line-defensive line drills once the pads go on. His number 58 may not carry symbolism, but in terms of visual impact and anchoring, Hamilton stood out as one of the most physically prepared among the D linemen. On the coaching staff, the movement of Nick Caley between units caught attention. The offensive coordinator closely observed wide receiver, tight end, and offensive line drills, showing broad interest and an integrated approach. His influence is evident not only in the fundamentals, but also in the selection of more robust physical profiles, a trend seen in the Ole acquisitions and aligned with the team's recent philosophy, also observed in New England and Los Angeles. Quarterback Graham Mertz, despite being physically limited by a knee injury, also made his presence felt and surprised with arm strength even in suboptimal conditions. In one of the reps, he threw a ball that went through the hands of tight end Luke Lachey, demonstrating torque even with limited mobility. The issue with Mertz is not technical, but medical. Full recovery will be crucial for any real competition with Keaton Slovis on the depth chart. In the special teams scenario, Woody Marks was also evaluated in punt protection drills alongside tight ends and OLs, suggesting that his versatility could translate into additional minutes on the active roster, even though his primary role is offensive, playing as a running back. In addition to the core group of drafted rookies, the minicamp was also a space for strategic evaluation for players seeking a spot via UDFA. And in this regard, offensive lineman Ladarius Henderson was one of the most mentioned names internally. Henderson returned to minicamp with focus, physical consistency, and notable commitment. Described as positive energy in the environment by Demeco Ryans, his dedication translated into additional snaps and extra coaching sessions with Cole Popovich, something rare for players outside the starting rotation. His movement and weight, listed at 309 pounds but seemingly higher, suggests that, alongside Ursery and Eli Cox, he makes up a more robust Ole than in previous years. Among the tight ends, Luke Lachey and Mason Tharp formed a visually contrasting duo. Lachey, listed at 6 feet 6 inches 250 pounds, appeared smaller next to the colossal Tharp, who exceeds 6 feet 9 inches and impresses with around 275 pounds. Invited by the Texans to participate in minicamp after finishing his college career at Texas Tech, Tharp played 43 games over 4 seasons, totaling 614 yards and 9 touchdowns on 57 receptions. Both executed basic routes with security, but it was the blocking execution that stood out the most. Tharp, despite his height, was able to lower his pad level effectively, making him functional in protection scenarios or combo blocks. If he doesn't make the roster, his physical profile immediately attracts attention for other athletic possibilities, like professional wrestling. Jackson Woodard, linebacker wearing number 46, demonstrated an advanced understanding of alignments and responsibilities in coverage and blocking drills. Claimed by the Texans via waivers before the rookie minicamp after signing as an undrafted free agent with the Seahawks. In contrast to some rookies still adapting, like Higgins and Knoll during gunner drills, Woodard seemed to know exactly where to be and how to execute. On defense, in addition to Jaylen Reed, the coaching staff began to structure an adaptation of the Peter role as a tactical concept and not just an individual function. In drills coordinated by 3 coaches simultaneously, Reed was exposed to complex simulations, reading tight end routes, fullback movement in flats, and positioning adjustments in the box. The exercises indicate that for the Texans, this hybrid role of slot, safety, linebacker will be a structural constant of the defensive system, and no longer just an exclusive role for Jalen Peter. The depth is strengthened with names like Jimmy Ward and Jalen Smith, the latter with experience in nickel packages, especially in coverage against faster slots. The coaching staff in turn revealed its integrated and vigilant working method. Nick Caley, offensive coordinator, circulated between drills for wide receivers, tight ends, and the offensive line, always observing route execution, timing, and coordination. His close yet silent presence suggests a focus on macro evaluation, gathering material for film room sessions. Meanwhile, Frank Ross maintained his usual attention to special teams, while Nick Caserio and D'Amico Ryans followed the more strategic movements of the day. The minicamp was marked by the absence of major mistakes except for a false start by Daniel Jackson in a special teams drill, an isolated incident, but one that was noticed. His undrafted status puts him in a tight competition, and although it's still early for projections, every snap counts for players in his position. With the minicamp over, the Texans now turn their attention to the next training cycle, where the integration between rookies and veterans will be the focus. The group of rookies showcased attributes that are above average for this stage. With versatile pieces, elevated athletic profiles, and a functional mindset, the 2025 class has the potential to make an immediate impact both in depth and key units. The continuity of their work, combined with the clear tactical structure seen in minicamp, suggests that the Houston Texans may have found not only talents, but also key pieces that naturally fit into the system. Thanks for watching, and see you soon!